there. This week I want my video to focus specifically on a really effective goal setting method and some of the tips and the tricks that I use to actually not just set goals in my business and in my personal life, but achieve them. So around the turn of the new year, everyone focuses on their New Year's resolutions. And a lot of times we see that those fall flat for a couple of reasons. First of all, sometimes people pick goals that are really, really difficult to stick to every single day because life happens. So for example, if you make the commitment that you're going to work out at the gym an hour every single day, there's a very small chance that you're going to be able to do that 365 days because life happens, because sometimes you're going to be sick, because sometimes the gym's going to be closed, or you're going to have some other commitment in your life that makes it a little bit more difficult to stick with that. So what happens is when people aren't able to stick with something they've set for themselves as a goal like that, where it's every single day or it's too frequent for them to keep up with, is that they'll fall off the wagon, beat themselves up about it, and then never start all over again. And that's not really an effective way to approach the goal setting process. The other reason that year-long goals just don't work is because a year is way too long of a period for a lot of people. We can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, so it's really impossible to pick a goal that we're going to stick with and actually follow through on. So at the beginning of the year, you always see these things, especially on social media, people posting, oh, this is going to be the year that I write my novel. This is going to be the year that I train for a marathon. This is going to be the year that, insert other huge goal here. But if you don't break that down into smaller pieces that are 90 days or even 30-day goals, it's going to be really challenging for you to actually achieve that. So what I want you to do instead is to think about the benefits of 90-day goals. Let me give you some examples. Now, first of all, there's an important distinction to make between habits and goals. So goals are things that I want to achieve that are either totally unrelated to my daily habits or a really big push for my daily habits. A great example of that is the fact that I try to walk or run every single day, but try to hit between 50 and 70,000 steps per week. And Fitbit helps with that. And doing weekly challenges with people on Fitbit and going to a trainer and all these things help contribute to that. And so it's always on my schedule. It's always at the back of my mind. However, I'll also have a 90-day goal associated with my steps. It could be miles, it could be steps. So right now, my 90-day goal is by April 1st to have walked 720,000 steps. Now, thinking about that, it's huge. It's a major, major push. It's going to be really hard for me to do that. But when I break that down into what I need to do every single week or every single month, that helps keep me accountable. That's an example of something that is a habit, but it's also a goal because my goal is bigger than the habit. The goal of saying, oh, I want to walk so many steps or so many miles by a certain date. If I don't break that down into what that means every single week, I'm not going to stick with the actual goal itself. Now, some goals are bigger than your habit. So, for example, I have working on my dissertation as a goal, working on some nonfiction books that I'm creating as a goal. It's really hard for me to fit those in as a daily habit because I have client work, I have things I have to do to assist the people that I'm coaching, I have blogs to write, podcasts to record, interviews to appear on, all kinds of meetings. It's really hard for me to do that. So rather than committing to spending an hour a day, which I've tried and just doesn't work, or saying, oh, I'm going to sit down until I write 1,000 words for my dissertation or for my nonfiction book, I choose something different instead, because to me, those kinds of goals seem a little bit punitive, and anything that's punitive tends not to work. So I think that from my perspective, if you say something like, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by such and such date, it's punitive. So rather than that, I found that it's a lot easier to be motivated to say, I'm going to walk so many steps, or I'm going to run so many miles, or I'm going to go to my trainer so many times, because it's more of a positive intention goal rather than focusing on something negative like losing weight. So ultimately, maybe the outcome of these positive intentions is losing weight, but I'm going in thinking about something positive, something I'm going to achieve, I'm working towards, rather than beating myself up over losing weight, which, can fluctuate for so many different reasons. So that's a different way to think about it. Now, when you're actually setting these 90-day goals, be realistic. Don't have 12 different 90-day goals, because odds are you're not going to be able to achieve every single one of those. So pick something that is actually achievable, and only work on no more than 3 to 4 goals maximum. So I like to have business goals and personal goals. So my personal goals will be my exercise, and then it will also be my dissertation. And then my business goals will relate to other things like how many words I'm going to write. So again, I'm not being punitive or really time based with these goals. I'm saying I want a specific word count, or I want a specific number of steps. So for my dissertation, I have a word count I want to achieve every quarter. For my personal writing projects, I have a word count I want to achieve every quarter. Now, this is different from my, day-to-day habits of, getting up and doing certain things like drinking 8 glasses of water. That's still on my radar. That's still something that I want to be mindful of, and eating the right vegetables and reading every day and meditating every day. But those are habits. So it's not, I just have found that it doesn't work when I say that I have a goal of doing that every single day. I strive to do that, but making that my goals means that I'm not really targeting these bigger picture goals, like writing a dissertation, like writing a novel, or like walking a certain number of miles. So I want you to think carefully about maybe 2 to 3 things that you can achieve in your personal life or your business life in the next 90 days, and then give yourself a deadline and break that down into weekly, and check in with yourself once a week. I like to do it on Sundays. See how I'm coming along with my goals. Am I on track? Am I behind? Am I actually ahead? This is a great way to, infuse these bigger goals that have been maybe difficult for you to make part of your regular life, to make it part of your habits. So it still might not become that daily habit like drinking water or taking your vitamins is, but it still will become more on your radar and a little bit easier to achieve. So I want to encourage you to work towards 90-day goals rather than year-long goals. Year-long goals, a lot of people tend to fall short with those, and shortening up the time frame makes you work on a deadline. Any freelancer who is really successful works well on a deadline, right? This is the reason why all my personal projects fall off the radar while the deadlines are always met for my clients, right? So give yourself that same type of a deadline and work towards it really diligently. And I think you'll see that the results are, it's a much higher chance that you're going to succeed with any of these goals, and potentially even all of them.